Hello, and welcome to WoW Professions, a comprehensive guide. You can call me Roz. I'm not an influencer or even a professional content creator. I'm simply a person who understands the complexity of WoW Professions in their current version. I've been playing since Burning Crusade and have enjoyed crafting the entire time. I am Master of all professions from every expansion, meaning I've gotten every single profession in each and every expansion fully maxed out. Do I have all the recipes? Definitely not, but I am actively trying to get them. I did hear a cry from some players for a better understanding of the crafting system. Some people find it confusing, troubling, overwhelming, and sometimes daunting and just don't want to participate because it's so hard to understand. Which I can totally get that, especially for some newer players. My goal with this guide is to shed some light on the profession system and hopefully make it clear for people. I will separate the information into chapters to make it easier to skip to the portion you may need. This guide is meant for those who may or may not need help with professions. If you're a seasoned player or crafter, this guide may not necessarily be for you. This was intended to help people that are doing it from scratch and may need just a little bit of help. The way professions work now, which was introduced in Dragonflight, is meant to be an evergreen system. That means that the way it works now is the way it will be working moving forward. I'm going to be giving you a crap ton of information, but I thought it best to do it as thorough as I possibly can, especially if you're starting out and you need bits and pieces of information. Having as much of it as possible will help you filter through and get what you need out of it. Now, I'm going to break down the information for the WoW professions in the following way. Starting with Chapter 1 will be the basics of the professions. I'm going to go over the UI, stats, quality, crafting tables, and the optional file of concentrated ingenuity. Chapter 2 will be specializations. We're going to look at some of the unlock points that the different trees will unlock at and how to fill them out and what they mean. Chapter 3 is going to be skill points. I'm going to go over how to fill up the bar at the top, these starting at either usually 0 or 1 of 100, and I'll touch on the artisan's acuity that comes with it. I'll also go over skill points as it relates to gear, specializations, finishing reagents, and concentration. Chapter 4 will be going over how to place a crafting order, not only the location, the UI, and then some specific features that I thought were of interest, the filter, the type of order, minimum quality, commission, optional reagents, and then the My Orders UI as well. In Chapter 5, it's going to be the informational part of the practical example. First will be a disclaimer, which we'll get to later. I'll go over the two items that I'm going to be crafting, the materials across all the professions necessary for both of them, and the possible costs individually and side by side. But we'll go over that in Chapter 5. Chapter 6 will be the practical example with visual aids, in which I will introduce the video and audio of me going through the different crafting orders, materials, and the whole process to make the two final items. So, let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 1, Basics of Professions. To begin, first we must familiarize ourselves with the basic crafting profession user interface. Hereinafter will be referred to as the UI. There are several parts all baked into one usable interface. I will start with the top left, going to the bottom right, and I'll go over each part in each section. Section 1 is the concentration counter. Pure and simple, this is your counter to tell you how much concentration you have. It will max out at 1,000 of 1,000, and if you use some of it, it will recharge very slowly. The recharge rate is 1 concentration every 6 minutes, or 10 concentration per hour. It will take a total of 100 hours to fully recharge concentration from 0 to 100, so use it wisely. Section 2 is the primary profession skill bar. As obvious as it seems, this bar is your base profession skill. Every other skill point and everything else that would otherwise increase your skill is added to this number. Yes, the example given does show it as incomplete, because it happens to be the one profession I have not finished in this particular expansion yet. Section 3, I call the professional expansion drop-down, as well as the post to chat. Very simply, the profession expansion drop-down is a quick and easy way to switch your current expansion recipe list to any other expansions list. The post to chat is just that, a quick and easy way to link your entire profession's journal to a designated chat. Section 4 is your profession gear. There are 3 slots for profession gear, each with their own bonuses on them. There are 2 accessories and 1 tool slot. The 2 accessory slots are preloaded, meaning when they are crafted, there really is nothing you can do to affect the stats or quantity thereof unless the quality is increased. The tool slot, however, is a little different. You can use a missive to designate the stat you wish to have on it, and you can also apply an enchantment to provide an additional bonus. The equip bonus for each slot is standard and cannot be changed. The green quality equipment for your professions, the 2 accessories, and the tools will provide their own unique equip bonuses. The 2 green accessories will be a +5 equip bonus, and the green tool will be a +8, for a grand total of a +18 skill bonus for equipping all 3 green quality items. The blue quality gear pieces will provide a +11 on both accessories and a +18 on the tool, for a total of +40 skill points for the equip bonus on the blue gear. Section 5 is the recipe list. This is fairly straightforward. This is a full list of all the recipes available for this profession in the current expansion that is designated. First, it shows you all the recipes you've unlocked, and then below all the unlocked recipes are the unlearned recipes that have still to be found. It does allow you to search specific recipes by name or a partial name if you do not know the full name of the recipe. When you enter a search, it will search all recipes from all expansions and give you options that most closely match your entered search. For example, let's say you know the name of the recipe but can't remember which expansion it comes from. You can enter the name of the recipe in the search bar and it will change the recipe list to show the exact recipe you entered and which expansion it comes from. You can also use the filter to limit the search or simply switch to specific expansion's recipe list. Section 6 is Name, Materials, and Tracking. This section includes the icon, the name of the item the selected recipe will create, and the reagents required to make it. You can mouse over the icon of the created item or the reagents for more details about the specific item shown. At the bottom of this section, you have the toggle option to only use the best quality reagents you have, or not if you choose. If you toggle it on, it will always put in the highest quality reagent you have for that particular recipe. You do have the option to split the quality of the items you choose to use. For example, say you need 15 of a particular reagent, but you only have 5 3-star quality and 10 of the 2-star. You can click on that specific reagent and a new pop-up window will appear that will allow you to change the way the reagents are split. You could even drop the quality down to have all 15 required reagents be 1-star quality in that pop-up menu, or 5 of each quality. The choice is yours. Of course, this pop-up will only appear for those reagents that have a quality on them, and if you actually own any of the other qualities than the one originally shown. There is a tracking toggle in the upper corner if you wish to track a specific recipe like a quest or an achievement. The crafting details and create options section. This crafting details section contains the detailed information about that specific recipe and how your stats, specializations, and skill would affect it. More about these in a later section. There is a quality slider that is a visual representation of what quality you can craft based on your skill, gear, reagent quality, and concentration. Under the slider are two slots for finishing reagents. Both will need to be unlocked via the specialization trees depending on the item being created. The first slot is for drafting supplies, which provide different bonuses depending on quality and which one is used. The second slot is for Artisan's Authenticity, which adds skill points to the slider depending on the quality used. The authenticity comes from doing patron crafting orders, of which the authenticity is listed as one of the rewards. Next to the finishing reagent slots is the toggle to use or not use concentration for the currently selected recipe. Under the details box, you can choose to either create a specific amount of that recipe or create all possible. The section 8 is the tab toggles. Simply the tabs at the bottom allow you to easily switch from the recipe list to the specialization trees and the crafting orders you can make. Next, we'll discuss the different stats available for crafting. The list of what stats affect what recipe can be found in the crafting details box shown for each specific recipe. Yes, this box will change depending on the recipe. Not everything listed in the crafting detail box is a stat, but I will discuss certain aspects of things listed to go over how they work. The recipe difficulty is the skill point goal needed to create the specific recipe at the highest quality. Skill is the amount of skill points you currently have as it pertains to that specific recipe. Skill points directly contribute to the quality of the craft being made. The higher the skill points, the better quality items you can make. This is affected by your base profession skill bar, your specializations, the quality of the reagents you used, profession gear, and concentration. More on this a little later. Concentration and how much is listed is the amount of concentration you would need to use in order to guarantee the next quality level up from what is currently shown. In the example shown, I would need to use 253 concentration per craft of this recipe to guarantee 3-star quality. Resourcefulness is the percent chance you have to retain some of the materials used to craft a particular item. You do need to provide all materials in order to craft the recipe. However, if you've placed a crafting order and the person crafting the item has a resourcefulness proc, then they would retain the saved materials and your craft would be completed as normal. Providing all the mats to craft a recipe is part of the cost of its creation. If the person crafting for you has a proc of resourcefulness, you are not entitled to that saved material, even if you are aware that it happened. 98% of the time, you won't be. Crafting speed is just as it sounds. The higher the percentage, the faster you craft. Multi-craft, in short, can generate additional crafts of the same recipe with the same amount of materials. The higher percentage, the higher chance you have it to proc. Multi-craft, however, really doesn't apply to equipable items. Ingenuity, in short, is like resourcefulness for concentration. If ingenuity procs on a recipe that you used concentration to make, it'll show up as an ingenious breakthrough, and you will receive back a base of 50% of the concentration used to create the recipe. The percentage to proc and the amount returned can be upgraded via your specializations. Now we need to go over quality. It may seem like a pretty straightforward idea, but there are some intricacies to it. There are two separate tiers of quality, one set for reagents, 1 star to a max of 3 stars, and a set for crafted items, usually equipable items, 1 star to 5 stars. For reagents, the higher the star quality of the reagent used to craft a recipe, the more they contribute to the skill level required for that recipe. 3-star reagents contribute more than 2 stars, and 2-star reagents contribute more than 1 star. For crafted items, usually equipable items, each star level corresponds to the item level of the item being crafted. 5-star quality crafts of said item will yield the highest possible item level for the reagents used. The quality of crafted items, usually equipable ones, being crafted will be affected by skill points, the quality of the reagents used, and if any concentration was added. Now the crafting tables are new as of Dragonflight. They are a centralized location for all crafts to be made. Each profession has its own table. Some crafts can be made away from one, but there are more that require a table than that do not. All profession tables are included in the major cities of the expansion. For example, Valdrakken for Dragonflight and Dornagal for the War Within. Professions from previous expansions prior to Dragonflight have their own specific requirements. Crafting tables will usually include all the tools you need to produce your craft, minus reagents and/or concentration. The File of Concentrated Ingenuity is a totally optional on-use item and is usually used by advanced users. The file increases the amount of ingenuity percentage available to you. In other words, if you have, say, X amount of ingenuity and you take the file, it will increase your ingenuity by X amount based on the quality of the file consumed. This will also increase the amount of concentration refunded by an ingenuity proc. Chapter 2: Specializations. Specializations are a way to specialize in a specific type of craft. If you want to be good at making sharpening stones, there's a tree branch for that. If you want to be good at contracts, there's a tree branch for that. Each type of item has its own skill tree to fill out that will provide different bonuses depending on how far they are actually filled in. Currently, as of the production time of this video, there is no skill point reset button on the skill trees, so choose wisely. However, there has been one rumored to be coming in a future patch. I'm hoping that if you're watching this after 11.1 has launched, that there is a reset button that will allow you to reallocate your points in case you make a mistake. The specialization UI is fairly simple. You can access it by clicking on the second tab at the bottom of your profession journal. At the top are the different skill trees you can fill out. It is possible to max out all of them, but it takes a lot of time and effort. Each tree is unlocked at different intervals. However, you do get to pick which tree to unlock at each breakpoint. The breakpoints are set amounts of skill points in your base skill point bar. Some professions have 4 trees, while others only have 3. Specializations and the first tree unlock at 25 of 100 skill points in your given profession. The second tree unlocks at 50 of 100 skill points. If your profession only has 3 skill trees, the third will unlock at 75 of 100 skill points. If your profession has 4 trees, the third will unlock at 60 of 100 skill points, and the fourth at 75 of 100 skill points. This means that you do not have to max out your base skill points in order to unlock all of the specialization trees. The specialization trees are filled out with knowledge points. Knowledge points are specific to your profession, and they come from a myriad of sources. There are numerous guides on how to acquire knowledge points, But for the purpose of this video, I will link one listed on wowhead.com in the description below. This guide goes over most of what I've already mentioned here and goes into the specifics of gathering knowledge points. How you fill out your specialization trees will directly affect the way you can craft. If you want to produce the highest quality of a craft without having to use concentration, then you have to fill out the corresponding trees. Again, be careful how you fill out your trees, as there is no way to respec once your points are set. There are typically the same type of trees in each profession. One is mostly generic and will increase your resourcefulness, multi-craft, and ingenuity per tree branch. The central node of this tree typically will add skill points to all crafts from that profession. The amount given is different depending on the profession and the tree. One of the other trees is to make you better at producing the reagents produced by your profession. Each tree branch will add skill points and other bonuses when crafting that specific type of reagent. The third tree is usually more specific to the items that can be crafted by that profession. For example, equipable items, profession gear, and other non-reagent items. For those professions that have 4 trees, the last 2 are usually split between the types of things that that profession can make. One example is inscription, that has a tree for equipable items and another for consumables, whereas leatherworking can make both leather armor and mail armor, so it has a separate tree for the leather armor and another for mail armor. Let's say you want to craft a set of bracers or a belt. It would be best to fill out the specialization tree that corresponds to the type of bracer or belt you are making, as well as filling out each previous node that leads up to the bracer or belt one, as well as filling out the central node of the generalized tree for a few more skill points. If your profession also creates some of its own reagent, like inscription or leatherworking, it would also benefit you to fill out those trees as well to get the most possible skill points you can for that specific craft of a bracer or belt, or any other item you might need. The amount of skill points you add in this manner to a specific craft will directly impact the quality of the craft you can make. Chapter 3: Skill Points. Skill points are probably the most important part of crafting, as the more skill points you have for a particular craft, the better the quality you can create. Skill points come from a variety of sources, and they are not to be confused with knowledge points. Knowledge points are how much you know about your profession, and skill points are the application of that knowledge. At this point, it is worth mentioning Artisan's Acuity because of its tie to first crafting. The very first time you craft a particular recipe, it will give you the first craft bonus for non-trainer recipes, which is usually 1 knowledge point and 5 Artisan's Acuity. Sometimes it'll be 1 knowledge point and 10 acuity if it's a higher end recipe. The acuity is a type of currency that does sit in your bags that you can use to either buy new recipes or craft blue quality profession tools. You can also use the acuity to buy scrolls that will grant various amounts of knowledge points. A good amount of your skill points will come from how you use your knowledge points in your specialization trees. The base for your skill points is the bar at the very top. It usually starts at 1 of 100 when you first pick up the profession. There are some racial bonuses from different races that will give additional bonus to skill depending on the race and the profession. For example, Tauren get a +5 to herbalism. So when they first pick up herbalism, it would be 5 of 100. When they first pick up herbalism, it would be 6 of 100 instead of 1 of 100. The base of your skill points is how you unlock your specialization trees, as mentioned earlier, and what your skill points are added to. As you can see in the example provided, this profession has 89 base skill points and 250 from other sources for a total of 339 skill points. Profession gear will add some skill points to your total depending on if they are green quality or blue. The green quality equipment for your professions, the two accessories, and the tools will provide their own unique equip bonuses. The two green accessories will be a +5 equip bonus, and the green tool will be a +8 for a grand total of a +18 skill bonus for equipping all three green quality items. The blue quality gear pieces will provide a +11 on both accessories and a +18 on the tool for a total of +40 skill points for the equip bonus on the blue gear. Profession gear is usually only affected by its quality as it pertains to its item level and the amount of stats that it provides. The equip bonus is unaffected by the quality of that particular profession gear. Specializations add skill points to your total as well, depending on how you fill out your trees. A reagent, for example, will need the full branch of its tree filled out, including its own node, and all previous nodes back to the base of the tree. You will also need to fill out the base node on the generic tree to improve not only your skill points, but all of your crafts from that profession. Some finishing reagents, mainly the artisan's authenticity, will add some temporary skill points to the slider bar. You will need to use one authenticity per craft to gain its benefit. Once applied, the authenticity does two things. It adds some temporary skill points to the slider, which can push you over the edge into the next quality up, and it also reduces the amount of concentration that be used without the authenticity being applied. Concentration is a resource that can be used to supplement your skill points. In short, if you're short on the required skill points to guarantee the desired quality level of a craft, you can use your concentration to push you into the desired quality or the next one up from the current one shown. For example, if you're showing you can only make a 3-star quality item and an authenticity brings you over the edge into a 4-star quality, using most likely a large portion of concentration to guarantee a 5-star craft. In short, concentration will increase the quality of the item you are creating to the next available quality level up from the current one. On a separate note, not entirely related to the current subject, but relevant to professions and knowledge points, if you decide that you don't like a profession, you can unlearn it. Once you unlearn a profession, it does allow you to pick up a different one. If you then decide the new profession isn't for you and you decide to go back to the original profession, you can do that. However, this doesn't come without a cost. You do retain all of your specialization points in your specialization trees, but your base skill goes back to 1 of 100. You do lose most of the recipes that you had that are unrelated to your specialization trees. For example, on one of my alts, I unlearned mining to pick up engineering, decided that I didn't want it on that toon, and switched back to mining. My base profession bar was reset to 1 of 100, and I lost a bunch of the discovered mining node types that I had in my journal. But I retained all of my specialization points and could instantly still mine well mounted and refine all types of ore, as refining is tied to the specialization trees, even though I was at 1 of 100. This would be an unusual thing to do and not very common, but good information to know. Chapter 4. Placing a crafting order. This is where you would place your crafting order in Dornegal, and here is a zoomed in version of where you can place your orders. Placing a crafting order can be done at several NPCs in Dornegal, but for simplicity, I use the outside clerk, Gretel, for convenience at coordinates 58 by 56.46. There are more NPCs inside the building behind her that can also do orders. She's just the most convenient. Fair warning though, there is a dismounting area around here of about 10-yard radius. I say 10 yards because it is big enough that if you come out of the door of the building, mount up and go straight or slightly left, you can brush up against it and will get dismounted even if you're airborne. I'm not going to go into as much detail about the crafting UI as I did the profession UI because they are basically the same. Instead of recipes, you have a listing to find craftable items. I will, however, go over more specific things that I find important to know. The last chapter is a practical example where I will show you exactly how it works visually. One of the things I find most helpful when I place a crafting order is the filter on the top part of the UI next to the search activation button. I usually will choose current expansion only when I place an order so that the search only brings out items from the current expansion and not all available, which means less to look through to find what it is you're actually after. Once you found the item that you want crafted, you can select what type of crafting order you would like to do from the drop-down. This does have its ups and downs though. If you choose a public order, you cannot request a base quality level that you want to receive, and anyone can make the item. This means you could get together expensive materials to have a high item level item crafted and get an item that is unusable to you. Choosing either guild or personal orders will allow you to set a minimum quality for the craft, and only someone capable of it can take that particular order, if done as a guild order. If you choose a personal order, then your order is sent directly to the specified toon. I would recommend, when entering their name, that you enter in not only the toon name, but the server they are on as well. Normally you cannot craft something on another server, but with the launch of cross-realm guilds, you can now craft stuff for anyone on any server as long as they are in your guild. Personal orders work the same. That person you're crafting for has to be in your guild if they're on a different server than you. This is why I recommend to include the server name when entering the toon name into the UI. Now, with battle groups, a lot of servers have been combined, and you can create personal crafting orders without entering in the server name. I think it helps when you're setting it up just to find the appropriate person and not someone that has an identical name, even though they might be on a slightly different server. As I mentioned above, you can request a minimum quality craft when placing a guild or personal work order. If you've got all the expensive mats together and want a 5-star top-end craft done, you can request a 5-star craft as your minimum, and whoever picks up the order will only be able to complete it if they can do it at 5 stars. Just as a friendly FYI, there is a slight caveat to this. When you place a guild order, anyone in your guild can start the order, but unless they can complete the order at the requested quality level, the UI will gray out the create button, preventing them from crafting something lower than the requested quality level. The only time this could really cause an issue is that, say someone starts an order, they have half an hour to complete it, but if they start the order and then go AFK, or they're just pulling your leg and hold the order, they can hold it for that full half order and your craft will be delayed until that half-hour time limit has run up, in which point the crafting order will be placed back into guild orders and someone else could then pick it up again. Okay. Probably one of the most contentious portions of the crafting order system is the commission. I say contentious because there are people with a very narrow-minded and shallow opinion about crafting orders and say, you're only pressing a button. They have no concept or care about the time and effort the crafter put into their specific craft to get to the point that they could now make high-end items. What would be appropriate and professional would be to provide a commission commensurate with the level of the craft you're requesting. providing you're using the public order system. If you're using the guild order system, then I can see a lower commission being appropriate, as most guilds I have encountered offer steep discounts to their guildies when it comes to crafting. A personal order being done by a non-guildie should have the appropriate level of commission. I do understand and recognize that some materials can be expensive, but with enough time, effort, and patience, you can gather all necessary materials for practically any craft. It's the human desire to have it right now that drives us to spending way more gold on materials than we should be, and then complaining about a commission. If I am personally crafting something for a guildie, I don't care what commission they put in. Most of the time, I don't even look, to be honest. If I'm doing a personal crafting order for a stranger, then I will only complete it if the commission is worth my time. If I spend weeks and weeks gaining skill and knowledge points to fill out my profession, then a lowball commission isn't worth my time to even look at. I cannot tell you what an appropriate commission on a craft would be, as there are several factors, at least in my mind, that play into that choice. I would recommend putting in the time and effort to max out the skill bar, 100 of 100, of at least one crafting profession, and fully fill out one entire specialization tree to see the time and effort that's required to be able to craft at high end and get a better understanding of what an appropriate commission would also be. Also, if the person requesting the craft does not provide all of the materials, then the commission should reflect the difference. For example, if one material is not included in the work order, then the commission should include the cost of said material with a percentage added on for the crafter's time. You cannot expect Versace quality and only pay Walmart prices. The optional reagents section in a crafting order is probably the most important part of the whole crafting concept. The 3 slots are where you add the necessary materials to designate the stats that you need, increase the item level, and add any embellishments. Embellishments are limited to a max of 2, so choose wisely. I would never recommend crafting an embellishment on an item in the head, shoulder, chest, hands, or pants slots, as these can be converted into tier set pieces. I would recommend the embellishment be put on a combination of the back, wrist, belt, or feet slots. You can still add gem sockets to an item with embellishments, so don't worry about avoiding that scenario. Choosing your tune's best stats for the crafted item via missive is very helpful, as you get to choose what stat increase that item will give you. If versatility is your worst stat, then you don't have to put it on, and you can choose something else. The slot that allows you to add an enchanted crest is the slot that will determine what the max item level available for that craft will be. If you include an enchanted runed harbinger crest, then your max item level for a 5-star craft is 619. But an enchanted gilded harbinger crest will give you a max of 636 with a 5-star craft. There is a difference in the skill level required to make one or the other, so choose your crafter carefully. Someone who can craft at the 636 item level is usually someone who has filled out the appropriate specialization trees and maxed out the base skill bar to 100 of 100, unless they're using concentration. Concentration does allow someone who hasn't filled out all of the things to craft at a higher level, but only with that finite resource. The My Orders tab at the bottom is simply a list of your orders that you have placed. Any pending orders will remain until picked up or completed. The completed orders, I believe, will remain listed until you log out for more than 15 minutes, after which point they disappear. I'll go over this more in the practical example. Disclaimer. The next 2 chapters, both 5 and 6, I will be going over will cover the practical example I came up with to showcase the ideas and concepts I've covered thus far. All documentation and visual aids that I personally created will be provided in the description box below. The tunes shown are all alts, not my main. They do not have a lot of gold on them because they are crafting tunes, and I don't really play them on a regular basis. I have blocked out the names as best as possible because I'll be honest, I don't need any extra attention in-game. Please be respectful of not only my time but others as well. If this video and this information doesn't apply to you, that's fine. I'm making this for those that would be starting from scratch and have no idea about any of it. My goal was to be as comprehensive and thorough as I thought necessary. It is possible that I may have missed something. I am human after all. Thank you. Chapter 5. Practical Example. In this practical example, I am splitting it up into two parts. Chapter 5 will be informational and scripted, whereas Chapter 6 will be more free-flowing, unscripted, and will include each step done visually. I will attempt to communicate each concept and step as I do them. Yes, I could have just bought all the materials of the crafts I wanted to make and had someone craft them for me. That is an option. I chose to do it all on my own with multiple crafting tunes and multiple crafting orders. I want to be able to show how a craft can be completed on one's own if someone so wishes to do that. I have not included anything about gathering professions in this video, as my primary object was crafting orders and crafting professions in general. Gathering professions, a comprehensive guide, will be another separate video if this one gets enough attention. I will be crafting these two items. The Everforged Great Belt with the Elemental Focusing Lens, embellishment, and the Everforged Vambraces, also with the Elemental Focusing Lens, embellishment. Both of these items are being made for my alt Death Knight. Both items will be upgrades for him. I am not maining this tune, but I am enjoying playing him, so he has become a favorite alt. I have come up with a table to show the total materials needed and which profession requires them. In Chapter 6, I will go over the order in which I do the actual crafting more specifically. I will also include all documents shown in the description below, but also feel free to pause the video to get a better look at each if need be. The first item table is for the Everforged Great Belt. The item itself is crafted with blacksmithing, shown in blue, but some of the reagents for the items I am making come from other professions. The missives I need to designate the appropriate stats come from inscription, shown in orange. The embellishment I want comes from jewel crafting, shown in red. However, the enchanted runed Harbinger crest, I did not have this crafted as I don't have the appropriate amount of crest to purchase the nascent crest, but I am using two of them, one for each craft, that I received via max renown rewards. I have included the list of materials needed just in case in the enchanting section shown in pink. The Spark of Omens, shown in yellow, is not profession specific and can be made by anyone. Again, this example and the following ones will be linked in the description below. Next is a complete list of all the materials needed for this craft if you're starting from scratch and had to farm all of them on your own. I have also included a cost for individual materials and all needed for the craft. Being mindful, though, of the included timestamps. The prices were accurate as of 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 25th, 2025 in the North American region. Also, if you notice on the material list in the last 4 rows, I made a goof. Originally, I had included the decorative lens as a material because it was late, I was getting lazy, and was just going to buy it. The 3 lines underneath the lens are the 3 materials needed to craft the decorative lens. The total costs reflect both the lens and the materials listed in them. If you're going to outright buy a material instead of crafting it, you can subtract the material cost from the total. My mistake also highlights something to be considered when gathering your required materials. Notice in the total cost column, the decorative lens is shown as 430 gold, which was accurate as of the timestamp. And the material cost, if you were to buy them, would cost you more than outright buying the lens. So keep this in mind if you decide to craft an item on your own and decide to just buy your mats. Now, the next two visual aids may be hard to distinguish between them and the first two. The Great Belt and Vambraces both require the exact same materials, but in different quantities. Mainly the Sanctified Alloy and the Iron Claw Alloy. This change, however simple, does affect the materials needed and cost from other sources. It changes the amount of core alloy you need, which changes the amount of echoing flux and bismuth as well. The missive, crest, and embellishment all remain the same. Here is a side-by-side possible material cost, so you can compare them if that helps. Again, I will also include all of these visual aids in the description box below. Chapter 6. Practical Example Visual Aids. Chapter 6 will be done in the rough order shown on screen. The rest of the chapter will now be free-flowing and done step by step. Hello, and welcome to Chapter 6. This is going to be more free-flowing and unscripted than before, just because it's going to be easier to kind of walk and talk at the same time. As you can see, I'm already at Clerk Gretel, as mentioned in a previous chapter, and I'm going to be going step by step through each of the crafting orders necessary to create the two items, the Everforged Great Belt and the Everforged Vambraces, if you were going to craft them all on your own. Now, I will be going through multiple tunes, and I will edit out going from one to the next so that it's easier for you to see and takes less time. So to get started, we're going to do each of the items in roughly the order that was shown, starting with the decorative lens. And the reason I'm doing this is because you need some of the items to create the next items on the list. Now that we're at Clerk Gretel, I'm going to go ahead and open up the crafting order UI.
I have calibrated my prices
and to make
be reasonable.
my life a little simpler, I'm going to filter for the current expansion only, so that it takes out anything that's not from the War Within. I'm going to search for the decorative lens, and it comes up. Now when you click on the item, it changes the UI to show the recipe and all the materials needed, as we've gone over previously. Now I will be making this a personal order to one of my own personal tunes, and because I'm doing that, things will be a little different than if you were having someone else do it for you. Now, yes, I do have the name of whom I'm sending it to covered up, and again, that's because I don't need any extra in-game attention. It's just a show. So I have my Jewel Crafter's name in there. I'm not going to set a minimum quality, but you do have the option to do that, because I can't remember what my Jewel Crafter can do at the moment. Now, because it's my own personal tune, the commission is going to be low, because essentially I'm just transferring gold from one of my characters to another. So if you were having someone else do this, I would make sure that your commission is worth their time. Because this is going to myself, that's why it's so low, and this is strictly for educational purposes. So, now this has the potential to make 1 to 2 with this recipe. I would recommend that if you need multiples of something, and the recipe says 1 to whatever, have enough materials to create the recipe as many times as you need. So I have enough here to do this twice. If it happens to create 2 the first time, that's fantastic. If not, then I will go ahead and make both of them. But since everything is filled out, I'm going to go ahead and place order, which is, well, this is just 1. This will make just potentially 1 or 2 of this decorative lens, but this is just 1 personal crafting order that's been placed. Now, if you need multiples of something, like in this case, I need 2, and I have no way of knowing if the first craft is actually going to make 2 or not, then I just click from My Orders, which will show you a full list of your own personal orders that you've placed, and go back and do this a second time, and place a second crafting order. Now I have 2. Now I know that I will get both of exactly what it is that I need. Now the next item on the list is Apricot ink, and I actually need 6 of those. And once I find it, now it sets up, and yes, I'm not using tier 3 materials in this one because I plan on actually using some concentration on my inscriptionist because I don't necessarily have the skill trees filled out to get top tier inks from the crafts. So I have to change the tune name to my scribe, and again fill out a commission, which I think the lowest commission you can put in is 1 silver. But again, since I'm crafting my own, this is just transferring gold from one tune to another. Now, I technically need 6 of these. So, for this purpose, though, for showing how crafting orders work, I'm only going to place 1 order. Now, all of the materials for everything I need is actually in my war bank. So I'm not drawing from the individual tunes bags. They're all pulling from the same source. Now, because I'm only placing the 1 order here and I actually need 6 of them, when I go to create the orders on my when I go to create the order on my scribe, I will go ahead and make the remainder of what I need and throw those into my war bank so that my tune that needs them actually has all of the materials available to him. Now, in the same fashion, for the next item that I actually need to make multiples of is the core alloy. Now, that is jumping beyond the boundless cipher, but the boundless cipher I need the apricot ink to make. So I can't make those 2 until I have the ink done. But for the case of what we're doing here, because with the core alloy, I need 54 of these total. So I'm going to just create 1 order so that you can see how this particular craft is done as well. But I'm not going to go through and make 54 different orders. For one, it would cost way more gold than I actually want to spend on doing these. Plus, the tune can make them on their own and throw them into the war bank, and I have access to them on any tune that I need them. So it just makes it easier for my personal self. Now, the rest of the items on the crafting list all need to have their previous materials created before we can move on. So, since I've done these 4 basic orders, personal orders, now I'm going to switch to the tunes responsible
My
for those.
directive has been fulfilled.
So I'm going to log out and then log into my jewel crafter. Okay, now I'm on my jewel crafter, and I'm going to go ahead and start the process. Now, if you notice, up on my mini-map, I have this little marker, and that's there to indicate that I have crafting orders waiting for me. So when I click on the jewel crafting table, go to crafting orders at the bottom, it shows not only the patron orders that are available, but the 2 personal ones from my previous tune. Now it's showing both of them, and when you click on the first one, it'll show you all the information, but just in the previous order. When you click on the item, it'll show you all the information from the order that was actually placed, showing that all the materials have been provided. Now, the next part would be to click Start Order. Now, once you do, you have half an hour to complete this, and that is the same for all crafters. If the half an hour expires, then the order gets canceled and it becomes available again. So if it's a public order, then it's a public order open to anyone else, and the same would be for a guild order. Now, since it's actually going to benefit me and I have enough of it, I'm going to use concentration on this order. So that way I can guarantee that I'll get the rank 3 even though I previously purchased them. Now, if I wanted to, I could use either radiant reagents to gain different benefits, or use some of my authenticity from patron orders to lower the cost of how much concentration I would need. Like each one of these will increase skill by a certain amount. Now, so since I have everything filled out, the order and the concentration and everything is all set, I'll go ahead and click Create. And this shows me on the next part that I've actually crafted the order, and I did get an ingenious breakthrough, which is kind of nice, which means that some of the concentration that I spent was refunded. So instead of it costing me 145, it only cost me 71. And I got the other 73 back, according to the little tooltip there. Now I'm going to go ahead and complete the order. Now, if you don't click complete, this will just sit here, and every time you open crafting orders, this will come back until you actually complete it. Now, the items crafted do not get sent to the person that placed the order until you actually complete it. Now, since I got lucky and that actually created both of them that I need, and this is just me personally making stuff for myself, I'm going to click on this one and decline it. What that does is it sends back the commission and all the materials back to the original person that placed the order. Now that that is done, it's time to move on to the next item. Okay, now I'm at the next tune, which is my scribe. And again, I have the marker for personal crafting orders. Now this is just the one order because I actually need 6 of the same item. So instead of 6 different orders, I only place the one. Okay. Now, yes, I do need 6 of these, but because I'm creating for myself, I only placed the one order on the previous tune. And again, all the materials were provided. I will click Start on this particular order. I will go ahead and create it as is. And complete it, so that makes 1 of the 6 inks that I need. And I need 6 because the boundless ciphers need 2 each, and then I need 1 extra to make the missives, which will come a little later. Now, I've already done 1, now I need 5 more. So in this spot, I'm going to actually click on 5, or enter in 5, and then create. Okay, now that the crafting is done, I did want to go back and show that I had a resourcefulness proc, and I was able to save 4 of the nacreous pigment, so that will remain with me on this particular tune. Now, since I am already on my scribe, it would just make it easier for me to go ahead and make the 2 boundless ciphers that I need. Which I can do here. Now, again, all of my materials are inside of my war bank, So I'm drawing from that to make these. Now with the reagents that I already have in here, you can see that I can make a rank 2 of these, and this is why I saved my concentration, so that way I could go ahead and use that to make 2 of the rank 3. And because I only need the 2 boundless ciphers, I'm just going to create all. And there, now I have both of my boundless ciphers, and those are going to go into my warbank so that I can create more crafting orders afterwards. Okay, I switched to my blacksmithing toon quickly, which also has the crafting order icon, just because I wanted to show that the previous order that I had placed for that single core alloy was still here, and because my blacksmithing skill is high enough, I can create this as a rank 3 without using any concentration. But I also wanted to show how crafting orders worked on the receiving end, and I didn't want to have one out there and forget about it, so I'm going to go ahead and start and forge this particular item. There we go, rank 3, go ahead and complete, so that's been sent off, and I will come back to this toon momentarily. Okay, now that some of the work orders are done, I'm coming over from Gretel to the mailbox to pick up the ones that have already been crafted. Now, as you can see, these are, I put in the 4 different orders, but only crafted 3 of them because I got lucky on the first one. Now, the first one is the 2 lenses, so I'm going to go ahead and receive those. Now, this one, it does say order declined. This is the crafting order that I did not actually need to do for the decorative lenses because I've already gotten the 2 that I need. So I will go ahead and accept all these. And again, that was all the materials plus the commission that I had put in. That was all sent back to me because the order was declined. And yes, I could have just clicked open all and received all. Wouldn't have been able to show more specifics. So now it's just these 2, so I'm going to go ahead and click open all to get both of those. And now, okay, now that I'm back on my scribe and all the other materials are made, I am going to go ahead and make the 2 missives of the fire flash that I need, because the best stats are going to be haste and crit for the items that I'm making. Now, as you can see, each of the item or materials is already filled in because this is being pulled from my warbank. And I still have enough concentration left on this toon that I can now just go ahead and do that and create both of them to get the 3-star missives that I need. Okay, now on each of these crafts, I did end up getting resourcefulness procs. The first one was definitely better because I saved an entire 3-star boundless cipher. So instead of needing both of them, I only needed one of them and got the benefit. The other one is just some water, which is fine. Now, okay, now that both of those are made, I'm going to go ahead and put those into my warbank, so that way my DK will have access to them. Okay, now that the scribe's job is done, I'm going to go ahead and move back to my jewel crafter, because now I need to finish off the focusing lenses that the decorative lenses were made for earlier. Now all of those materials are already in my warbank, and I did not create a separate crafting order for this particular item just because it's going to be faster for me to create them individually and throw them into my warbank so that the toon that needs them has access to them. So I'm making 2 of these elemental focusing lenses, and I have enough concentration on this one that I can make both of them at 3-star instead of 2-star that my skill would normally allow. So I'm going to go ahead and set it at 2 because I only need 2 total, and create. Now, because I had not previously made this one, I did get the first craft bonus, which is 1 knowledge point and 5 acuity. Now that both of these elemental lenses are made, I'm going to go ahead and throw them into the war bank. And then, now, yes, the items that I need to create are made by a blacksmith. However, they are bind on pickup, so I'm just going to create all the materials and then place those in the war bank and create 2 more crafting orders on my DK and then come back to craft those on the blacksmith. So to get started, I need a total of 54 of the core alloy. Now, I do already have one in my bags. It's the one I pulled from the war bank from the previous crafting order. Now, again, all of my materials are in my war bank, so that's why they're showing up here and not showing in my bags. Now I'm going to go ahead, since I already have one, and I need 54 total, I'm going to put 53 here, and go ahead and forge. Now, okay, fast forwarded to the last couple crafts. I did manage to get one multi-craft, so I will be stopping this one shy. So I have 52 of 54, 53, and 54. I'm going to go ahead and stop it. I have all the core alloy that I need. And because I got that one multi-craft proc, that saved me on some of the materials that I needed. Now, the next items that need to be created are the Iron Claw alloy, and I actually need 22 of those. And again, all of my materials are in my war bank, so I will be making them directly from that. Because my skill is high enough, they'll be at 3-star instead of anything less. Now I'm going to put in the 22 and click Forge, and once this is done, I will come back. Okay, now that that part of it is done, I have made the 22 of the Iron Claw alloy that I actually needed. I was lucky enough to get a multi-craft proc of 3 instead of just 1, so that saved me on the materials of having to make 2 extra. Now to the Sanctified alloy. Now this recipe will actually make 2 for every 1 craft of this particular item that you make. Again, all of my materials are in my war bank, and because I need a total of 10 of the Sanctified alloy, I only have to craft this 5 times. And because everything's here, and I have enough skill to get 3 stars on this, I don't have to use any concentration. Because I need 10, I'm going to put 5 here, because it's going to make 2 of each, and click Forge. Okay, well that part of it is done. And the very last craft, I did end up getting a multi-craft on it of 5, which was very surprising, instead of just the normal 2. Now, the items that have been created, I'm going to go ahead and put into my war bank so that my DK will have access to them to do the next step. Okay, all the materials have been made. Now it's time to finish off the last part of it and create the crafting orders for the 2 specific items, the belt and the bracers. Now I have all the materials I'm going to need, and I'm going to go ahead and open the crafting order UI again, talking to Gretel.
I have an extended supply of goods for Outlanders.
Now, because I am crafting armor, I could just simply put in the name of it and search it up that way. However, I'm going to use the filter and do the current expansion only, just because it helps me out. I'm going to click on armor, and because it's plate type, click on that type, and we'll start with the belt. So we want waist, and then search. Now this will bring up all of the belts, plate belts that can be made in this particular expansion. Now I'm looking for the Everforged Great Belt, and that'll, once I click on it, it'll change the order. Now first I'm going to put in my blacksmith's name and a commission. And again, because this is going to myself, the commission doesn't have to be all that great. However, if you're having somebody else do this, I would highly recommend making it commensurate with the type of craft you're doing. Now, because this is going to end up being a item level 619 item, then I would make the commission appropriate to that. Now, the first part is to provide all of the materials. Now, since I did just make a spark, I'm going to click on the square itself, which will give you the option of all the sparks available. So I'll put in one of those. These materials are in my war bank, so those are already there. The first item is to customize the secondary stats. And this is the missives that are in my war bank that I created earlier on the scribe. So we'll click on one of those, which will fill it in. The next part are the crests, which I do have 2 in my bags, but I have 4 total because there was 4 renown tracks. We'll click on once there to add that as well. The embellishment is the elemental focusing lens that we crafted just a few moments ago, so we'll also add that. Now all the materials are crafted, and this is going to my blacksmith. I will request a minimum quality of the 5-star just to show how that's done, and then I'll place the order. And once it's in there, again, this shows all of the orders that I've done so far today. All the ones that have been completed, the one that I declined because I got a craft on the first one, and the one that is still pending. I'm going to go back to place order and go to the next item, which is the wrist. Again, the filter stays in place for current expansion only. So that way it shows me all of the plate wrists that can be made in this expansion. I want the Everforged one. And because my previous order was to my blacksmith, his name stays there. I'm going to change the minimum quality to the 5-star, and again enter in a commission. Now as before, I'm going to click on the individual boxes and add in the materials that I need. The missive, the crest, and the embellishment. So everything is provided, everything is set. I'm going to go ahead and place the order. Now I have both orders for the belt and the vambraces, and any remaining crafting materials are going to remain in my bank. And now I can switch to my blacksmith and craft these, and then I'll show you on the other end how they come out. Okay, now that the materials are all made and the 2 final crafting orders are in place, notice the crafting order mark on the minimap. We'll go ahead and open up the table to make the belt and the bracers. Starting with the belt, click on this and click Start Order. All the materials are in place, but notice I haven't made this one before, so it's going to offer me the first craft bonus, and I can't quite make it the 5-star that I've requested in the original crafting order. And I can tell because at this level, it won't let me forge it because it wants a minimum quality of 5 stars. Now this gives me an excellent opportunity to show you how the finishing reagents work. First we'll start with the authenticity, which increases my skill by 20. But if you notice, I still need 554 concentration to make it 5-star. Now if I go ahead and use that, I won't have enough concentration to make the next one because you only get 1,000. So I'll go to the accessory one and use some concentration concentrate, which reduces the amount of concentration needed by 10%, which brings it down the concentration I need under 500. So I should actually have enough to make both. So use concentration, and I'll go ahead and forge this. And that finishes the craft, making it the 619 with the knowledge point and 10 acuity from that. So I'll go ahead and complete that order and move on to the bracers. Same thing, still don't have enough skill. It's the first craft bonus, so we'll add another authenticity and a concentrate, which brings it down again under the 500 because you only get 1,000. So we'll go ahead and use the concentration and forge. Wow. Okay, so on this one, yes, I got the first craft bonus, which is the knowledge points and the 10 acuity. But it was also an ingenious breakthrough, which at 619, which was the highest level I could make, was all I could do. But I ended up getting 299 concentration back for that breakthrough. So instead of being down to 4 or 5 concentration, I actually have 314 left in case I need to make something else. So I'll go ahead and complete that, and both orders are now made. So now I will go ahead and hop back to my DK and equip them. Okay, both items have been completed, and I'm on the DK that they were made for. When I open my mailbox, it'll show that both orders have been fulfilled. I'll go ahead and open all for both. Now, because I'm a stickler for Mog, I will go ahead and mount up on my yak. And go ahead and equip the bracers and the belt.
Come, shop, browse.
Fix my Mog. And both items have now been equipped. Both orders were done at the requested quality level. So the max that the Sparks offered was 619, and both items are now done. Okay, now all crafts and crafting orders are complete. The items have been received on the intended tune, equipped, and mocked. I really hope this step-by-step guide has given the information needed to craft items on your own. I acknowledge that there were extra steps in this guide because I crafted all this stuff on my own from myself personally. It is possible with the right amount of gold to purchase all of your materials to craft your items, but I wanted to show multiple crafting orders and how they can apply to the end game craft. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, or thoughts, please put them in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching today. If you found any of this information helpful in any way, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell as it really helps me out. I look forward to our future adventures together. Happy hunting.
Goodbye.